Hello, BookTube, and welcome back to week 2 of the Future History Project. That's the Isaac Asimov Future History, where myself and other booktubers and other readers are going through all of Isaac Asimov's future history stories. That's the robot stories, the Empire stories, and Foundation stories. But not only that, we're doing it in chronological order within the universe, or trying to for the most part. And also, we're adding in for those who are game to read the material that's written by other writers, the robot stories and Foundation stories written by other writers. And there are two other co-hosts other than myself, and that's Mark Richardson at Richardson Reads and Scott Bryant at the Bookish Bryants. And I'll leave links down below in the description. This week, we're doing another 5 short stories. I'll be discussing the first 3 from this week, and they are True Love, which was published in American Way 1977, and Robbie, which was originally published in 1940 in Super Science Stories. And Robot AL-76 Goes Astray, which was published in Amazing Stories 1941. Robbie, well, I'll explain that because there's changes. He made some changes later. But the first one is called True Love. And we're back like last week with Multivac, which is a massive computer. And we've got Milton. Is his name Milton? Is that correct? Milton, yeah, Milton Davidson, who has created a program that he calls Joe in the computer. And he instructs Joe to find his true love somewhere in the world. Joe is able to access all human records, and he gives them parameters to look like, disregard males, and only females, certain age, females, certain eye color, certain hair color, and other traits. So they winnow it down to a few, and he's also talking about looks, and he starts, interviewing these women. He gets them moved to his positions, to nearby, so he can interact with them and see, but he never clicks with any of them. So they decide to do something a little different and more of their mindsets of a woman, and not look so much. And also, when it comes to that, they might not be that concerned for his looks. And during this whole process, the computer program is learning and becoming more and more like Milton himself. And the computer becomes very similar to him, and he wants true love as well. So he engineers that Milton is taken out of the picture and arrested on some spurious charge that something happened in the past. So the Joe thinks he's found his true love. So he's getting the woman to come, and she'll love him because she won't care about anything else. It's a bit of a disturbing story, but I found it quite interesting. It's humorous, but also too, I guess it goes. A lot of this is sort of like the possible pitfalls of computers and artificial intelligence. In this case, it's computer artificial intelligence, not so much a robot. And that they become almost too human, but in certain aspects, and it doesn't have a rounded human aspect in many ways. And this is a recurring thing with Asimov stories and with robot stories, that they're very human, but they do lack something. They take on human characteristics, so much in certain characteristics, but then they lack some others. Or, in this way, like, he had to learn what true love was, and he thinks that, the woman won't care. It just sort of, but then also that is very human, that, um, people may think that, they don't see the reality of it. They'll think that, well, I feel this way, you should feel this way. So, there's all that interaction going on there. So, which is kind of neat. The second story is Robbie, and this is his first robot story that he wrote in 1940. However, the version that we have in here is sort of a changed version, with a few additions and tweaks, that was done, I think, in the 50s. It was. The story is basically Gloria. She's a child, and she has a robot nursemaid, in a sense, called Robbie. He doesn't speak, but she loves him, and he in his own way cares very much for her and protects her. And she's had this robot for a long time, and she loves the robot. But her mother is very concerned because the robot is always there, and the Gloria doesn't play with other children, only wants Robbie. So again, with this story, like, they decide to get rid of the robot Robbie. The girl is devastated, and it's replaced by a dog, but she doesn't really care about the dog. Um, so, and she just pines away and pines away, and she's convinced that she's told that um, that Robbie had run away, which wasn't the case. They got rid of him. So they go to a city. They go to New York City, and you find out it's set in 1998. And they go to New York City, and she's convinced that they're going there to search for Robbie. And she meets another computer, so she thinks, well, I mean, another robot, so surely this robot will know where Robbie is. But she sort of screws up its programming in a museum. But also, as seen in the museum, there's a teenage Susan Calvin. And this is an interpolation that Asimov put in later. It's the first, a teenage Susan Calvin, who will become extremely, extremely important in the stories as we move forward. Extremely important, because she was born in 1982, and so this is 1998. So she's what, 15, 16 years old, with this. But anyway, the parents decide, or the father says, well, one way maybe to dissuade her is that she thinks that Robbie's a human. She doesn't realize that it's a machine. So they go to the factory, a factory where U.S. Well, actually, again, they change. Asimov changes his name to U.S. Robotics, and where so she can see them made, but she looks out. Excuse me. She looks out, and she sees Robbie across the other side of the manufacturing line, and she's so excited that she jumps over a fence, or through a guardrail, and runs across. But there's this speeding down is a forklift of some sort, and it's a human driver, and Robbie sees this, and it's like the human driver doesn't have fast enough reflexes to do anything. So Robbie jumps in there and saves the day, picks her up and saves her. And the mother realizes, oh, you engineered this, to her husband, having Robbie there and stuff. And he admits he did, but he didn't expect anything else to happen. But they sort of figure, well, she's in safe hands with Robbie, so it ends sort of with that. So she's reunited with Robbie. It's a very touching story. It's sort of like the first one, A Boy's Best Friend, where emotionally a child is attached to a non-human thing, and it happens to be a robot. And but they and I think it's also too that Asimov is showing like children are able to accept, they're more accepting of things, where adults know that it's not a human and can't accept it as a human. At least they're showing at that children can. And it's sort of also too, and those children will grow up to feel the same way about robots, and it'll change sort of society in a sense, because they'll have a different thing. And we see that now in many ways with children that are growing up with their thumb on the cell phone or the iPhone and computers. They're just very adept at it because it's from birth, and it's what they know. And it's will change sort of the mentality and everything. And Asimov is very, he was conscious of this, of how technology, and it doesn't just, but he's using a robot, I think, to explain this. And it's technology that can change things, change these things, people's attitudes. It's a slow process. Like, the older generation will balk against it. There'll always be, those that will, Luddites that will destroy, machinery, like there was back, at in the industrial age, all the way through. And robots and computers are no different, but people will get used to this. And also within that, there is a danger of getting used to it as well. So it's a two-edged sword. But anyway, the third story is Robot AL-76 Goes Astray. And I don't think there's a time frame for this one so much, but robots are sort of not allowed to be on Earth anymore. They're made for off-world, and there's 50 some or six, I forget now. There's a certain number of robots that were 55, I think it was, robots to be sent to the moon to do various tasks, and only one short by the time it gets there, and they don't know what's happened. So there's a huge manhunt for this robot, and all of a sudden it turns up in Wichita, Kansas, and everybody's scared of it. But then this one guy is okay with it because he sees, oh, this is the robot they're looking for, so I can make some money here. But the robot is concerned that, like, what this looks so different. How can you be out here without a spacesuit and stuff like this? He thinks he's on Mars. I mean, on the moon. He doesn't understand that there's something wrong. Something happened in this program. That he somehow walked around dazed for days. And he wants to get to work. So he figures, well, okay, since there isn't the work here now, he'll create his work. So he creates this machine, a powerful machine, and it sort of devastates a mountain, a hill, and the guy that he was with, the sort of bum drunkard, tells him to destroy it and forget about it. So he does, and the corporation gets him back, and they look at what he built and everything like this, and it was like far better than anything that has ever been built, and they couldn't figure out the power of it, and it was just by two flashlight batteries, and but the robot doesn't know what he did, and because he's forgotten it, he's erased everything by a command, because he's followed the commands, with this. So yeah, and it's another short story, and seemingly simple, but it does show things where just with like where programs can, a little glitch can possibly can cause problems, or it can create something else different. And that's the same as in the human evolution, where things happened and evolution took a different way, because of something happened with the environment, and maybe something happened. He doesn't explain, Asimov doesn't explain what happened to the computer, To the robot Al, as the guy calls him Al. Um, they don't explain what happened to him, but clearly something happened that created something special within him. Then it was lost, and that can be happen. Like, that's human evolution too, where things can be lost because it is sort of, a survival, and it may not have been a trait that at that moment required for survival. So that was forgotten, and it's also too in human invention where things are made by accident and in discoveries. Penicillin, for instance, was just a bit of mold, and it was like, that was a very good discovery for antibiotics, and it was accidental. And a lot of discoveries have been accidental. So yeah, so as I said before with the other stories, they're deceptively simple, but when you actually think about them, and that's the key, they get you thinking, and you'll think about it a long time after. Like, 20-page story or 4-page story, it gets you thinking, and that's the joy, as well as the, I don't like using the word genius, but for these stories, they get you thinking, and that's why I love this stuff, and I love Asimov. Like, despite sometimes the contrivances that he does to get things done, or sometimes the voice of the child isn't quite childlike, or the parents, but it's sometimes contrived, but that's okay. You can overlook it. And again, it has all the sense of wonder of, what if. And that's the fabulous thing. And the interesting thing again is that Robbie is the first appearance, well, retrospectively, the first appearance of Susan Calvin, who, as I say, will become very, very important in this whole saga as well, because it's what she does which then allows other things to happen, but that's yet to come. And so on Thursday, I hope to be back with the last two, which are Victory Unintentional, and I can't remember what the other one is. Victory Unintentional. I'll get to it in a second. Victory Unintentional and Stranger in Paradise. Another earlier one, 1942, Victory Unintentional. I actually had that written wrong. I had said Victory International, I think, and then I just thought, oh, that was wrong, and I just put un in front of it. So uninternet, no, it's Victory Unintentional, and that was from 1942. And Stranger in Paradise is from If, A World of Science Fiction, 1974. So I'll be discussing those on Thursday. So happy reading, everybody. And if you stay, still lots of time to join us. It will be a long project, but I hope everybody's enjoying the stories. And if like I say, everybody sees something different as well in the story. So if it was something that you saw that I didn't mention, do sound out in the comments and what you thought of the stories. Take care, BookTube.